What if the difference between guessing and knowing was hidden in 5 small behaviors she can't fully control, subtle, repeatable, and backed by real psychology? If you've ever felt that tension in your chest trying to decode whether she's into you or just being polite, stay with me. Because in the next minutes, I'm going to hand you a precise, masculine framework to read attraction without chasing, without overthinking, and without asking for reassurance. You'll stop hunting for mixed signals and start noticing consistent tells. The goal is simple: remove doubt, act with calm certainty, and move the interaction forward like a man who trusts his read on reality. I'll break down the 5 signs women reliably show when they feel attraction, how to separate them from friendliness, and how to respond so you build momentum instead of killing it. And as you listen, you're going to discover micro details most men never see, the kind of details that once you notice, you can't unsee. First, lock in a principle that will guide everything you hear. Attraction leaks through the body before it's declared by the mouth. Long before a woman verbalizes anything, autonomic cues and habitual behaviors shift. This is why you've misread smiles in the past. A social smile means nothing, but a cluster of involuntary cues means everything. You're going to focus on clusters, on baselines, on congruence, and on escalation windows. And remember, your power comes from a stoic posture. No grasping, no neediness, no rattled ego. You observe, you test lightly, you lead. If a cue isn't there, you don't force it. If it is, you move with calm precision. Before the 5 signs, you need a mental model. Think of 3 circles: interest, comfort, and readiness. Interest says, "You caught my attention." Comfort says, "I feel safe and open with you." Readiness says, "I'm available to move this forward now." Many men only look for interest and then push into readiness, skipping comfort. That's when attraction fizzles. Your job is to read interest, deepen comfort, and then check for readiness. Each of the 5 signs you'll learn has a version that signals interest, a version that signals comfort, and a version that signals readiness. You'll start noticing how one sign evolves across the interaction. When it evolves, you escalate. When it stalls, you stabilize. When it reverses, you ease off. This is the discipline that separates a man who guesses from a man who knows. Sign 1 is the gaze pattern that doesn't lie. You're going to stop looking for just eye contact and start tracking how her eyes behave when you enter her space and how they behave after you've been speaking for a minute. Research on eye behavior shows that the eyes reveal attention allocation. When attraction is present, women tend to show 3 things that cluster: initial orienting toward your face, quick flicks to your mouth when you speak, and micro returns after looking away. The key isn't the amount of eye contact, it's the rhythm and the returns. Attraction looks like this. You catch her glance more than chance would predict. She averts momentarily and comes back. When you talk, her gaze dips to your lips and back to your eyes. During pauses, her blink rate slightly increases, and when you stop speaking, she holds the gaze a beat longer than necessary. That beat is the window. Social politeness looks different. It's steady. Equal opportunity eye contact with no mouth checks, no longer than necessary holds, and no pattern of returning after a break. If she's attracted, you'll also see what I call the curiosity triangle. Eyes scanning from your eyes to your mouth to your chest or hands and back. The moment you notice those mouth checks, you test with a lower, slower delivery and a slight pause mid-sentence. If her pupils open a touch and the gaze lingers, you're greenlit to escalate the intimacy of your topics. Layer your voice with calm certainty and add a subtle smile, not a grin, just a hint that says you're comfortable with tension. This is important. Your job is not to stare her down. Your job is to hold, soften, and invite. Masculine, not menacing. Now calibrate for environment. In bright daylight, you won't see pupils as clearly, and in professional settings, trained eye contact can mask interest. That's why you rely on clusters. Pair the gaze pattern with proximity behavior, which leads to sign 2. She investively manages the space between you. Attraction pulls her toward your orbit in small, testable ways. Watch for 3 spatial shifts. First, the reapproach. You speak to her, the conversation breaks, and when there's a plausible reason to move away, she doesn't just stay. She finds a reason to come back within a few minutes. Second, the lean-in alignment. When you make a point, she unconsciously leans forward or angles her torso and feet toward you, even if her head is turned to someone else. Third, the anchor. She places an item, her glass, her phone, a scarf, near you rather than near others, effectively anchoring her spot so she can re-enter fast. These are the proximity investments most men ignore because they're not dramatic. They're subtle because attraction prefers plausible deniability early on. She maintains social cover while increasing access to you. How do you respond? You reward the investment by holding your ground. Don't rush in. Don't shorten the distance too fast. Make space feel safe. When she reapproaches, you open your body language, pivot slightly to include her, then direct a clear, low-energy question only to her, not to the group. That question should be about meaning, not logistics. You're signaling that her presence changes your focus. The masculine subtext is, I see you. I don't need to chase you. If she maintains alignment and closes the gap again, you can test light touch later. If she rotates away and never returns, you stay grounded and continue leading your current thread with whoever you're with. You never punish withdrawal, you simply invest where energy reciprocates. Let's layer in the third sign. She mirrors you in a way that tracks time and intensity. Mirroring is not just copying posture, it's synchronizing tempo. Attraction creates unconscious mimicry in speech rate, gesture timing, and even breathing rhythm. You'll test this by making small, elegant changes in your delivery. Slow your speech by about 10%, then raise it subtly for a sentence or two. If she's attracted and invested, her speech will track your tempo within the next exchange. You'll also see gesture congruency. You touch your lower chest briefly as you emphasize a point. A minute later, she self-touches in a similar area. That's not random. It's the chameleon effect working in your favor. The mistake is assuming any mirroring means attraction. People mirror for rapport, for politeness, or because you're the leader in the moment. Attraction-grade mirroring adds two ingredients: latency and escalation. Latency means she mirrors within a short time window. Escalation means when you deepen the intimacy of your content, sharing a personal value, teasing with warmth. Her mirroring shifts from posture to micro-expressions. Lip corner lifts, softening of the eye muscles, subtle head tilt exposure of the neck. This is where you add a vertical test. Insert a 3-second silence after a meaningful statement and hold eye contact. If she stays with you in the silence instead of filling it, the mirroring is not just social, it's magnetized. The response is not to congratulate yourself, it's to lead the frame. You label the vibe lightly and move the conversation toward a shared experience, coffee in 15, a short walk, or a change of venue. Men who drown in banter lose the advantage mirroring gave them. Your job is to recognize synchronization and convert it into movement. The fourth sign is the quality of her laughter and the way she qualifies herself around you. Don't confuse quantity of laughter with attraction. Confused men chase cheap laughs and kill polarity. Attraction laughter is less about volume and more about warmth, breathiness, and timing. It often arrives as an exhale smile before any sound, then a short, soft laugh that lands right after your playful tease rather than on top of it. When attraction deepens, laughter becomes punctuated by questions that seek your view. What would you do? How do you decide that? This is qualification. She invites your evaluation because your opinion matters to her. The key is that she starts offering personal details voluntarily, without being interrogated. Qualification shows up like this. You state a standard. I like people who keep promises to themselves, and instead of deflecting, she responds with evidence. I get up early to train even when I don't feel like it. That's not random. That's her trying to show she fits your frame. If she's only friendly, she laughs at jokes, keeps it light, and avoids self-reveal. If she's attracted, she laughs like you slipped past her defenses and then opens a window into who she is. When you hear this, do not reward with clingy praise or over-eagerness. You acknowledge with a grounded smile, you tease with affection, and you add a small, specific compliment that reflects your standards. For example, consistency is rare. I like that. Short, masculine, decisive. Then, you escalate the stakes of the conversation slightly. Dreams, habits, principles. Because attraction matures when you give it a ladder to climb. Your restraint is the test she didn't know she wanted you to pass. Now, the fifth sign, she gives you touch invitations and compliance that scale. This is where men either move too fast and get resistance, or freeze and watch the window close. Touch invitations are not always obvious. They often appear as self-touch near you, object-based bridges, and touch-seeking questions. Self-touch near you is when she gently rubs her own arm while looking at you, plays with a necklace, or adjusts a sleeve in slow motion. Object-based bridges are when she hands you her phone to show a photo, offers a taste of her drink, or asks you to help with a wristband or bracelet. These create micro-opportunities to be close without framing it as intimacy. Touch-seeking questions are subtle. Is this your ring? While tapping your hand. How tall are you? While measuring with her palm. Your hands are warm while brushing your fingers. None of these prove attraction alone. Together, in sequence, they signal readiness to accept your calibrated touch. You start with a neutral, directional touch. Lightly guiding her shoulder to navigate a crowd or a palm-to-palm high-five, you hold a fraction longer than usual. You read compliance. Compliance means she accepts, maybe smiles, and doesn't withdraw. If she not only accepts, but retouches or stays close. You scale to a relational touch, a brief hand on the middle of her back while you lead a step, a fingertip contact on her forearm during a laugh. You never trap. You never linger if her body doesn't relax. Enthusiastic compliance looks like this. She orients toward you, her shoulders drop, her breathing eases, and her voice warms. That's your green light to propose a move. Let's grab a seat over there. And you lead. Understand this clearly. Consent and comfort are non-negotiables. You test, you read, you respect. Attraction is not permission. It's a signal to explore with care. To make these 5 signs truly useful, you need to think like a strategist, not a collector of trivia. A strategist manages baselines. Every woman has a baseline level of warmth, touchiness, and eye contact that has nothing to do with you. So you establish baseline fast. Observe how she behaves with others. Is she hug-happy with friends? Does she maintain eye contact with everyone out of professional training? Is she naturally animated? Once you have baseline, you look for deviations in your direction that persist. If she is warm with everyone, attraction shows up as extra time investment, reapproaches, and your specific mirroring. If she is reserved with everyone, attraction shows up as small cracks in her guard only with you. Micro smiles, softer voice, windowed disclosures. You're not guessing, you're measuring deviation from baseline. Add to this timing. Attraction signals cluster more tightly when the window is open. Windows open when she's emotionally available in the moment, not just in life. You can meet a woman who is attracted but preoccupied. She'll show early signs but won't invest. You can meet a woman who's moderately attracted but fully present. She'll invest more. Your job is not to judge, it's to test. If the cluster appears but investment doesn't grow, you slow play and seed a future meet. If the cluster appears and investment grows, you move decisively. The window matters more than the intensity of a single cue. Let's talk filters. How to separate friendliness, novelty-seeking, and true attraction. Friendliness gives you social smiles, polite laughter, and equal attention distribution. Novelty-seeking gives you brief spikes of eye contact and conversation curiosity, but no reapproach and no compliance with your light leads. True attraction produces at least 3 of these 5. Rhythmic gaze returns, including mouth checks, repeated reapproach or proximity investments, time-locked mirroring that tracks your tempo, qualifying behaviors where she seeks your view and offers self-reveal, and touch invitations with compliant escalation. If you get one sign without the others, you don't assume. You create opportunities to verify. Slight pause to see if she fills silence. Micro-lead to see if she follows. Change of pace to check mirroring. Neutral touch to test compliance. You're creating clarity quickly, not dragging ambiguity out for hours. Now you need responses for each sign so you can convert signals into movement without trying too hard. When you catch the gaze pattern, you lower your voice, insert a half-beat pause, and add a micro-smile. Then you ask a question that invites a value statement rather than facts. What do you look for in a day that you call a good day? This shifts from small talk to meaning talk, increasing emotional vividness. When she invests in proximity, you reward by holding your frame and gently isolating the interaction. Pivot, give her body the front, and propose a small location shift. When mirroring appears, you use silence. Men who fear silence never learn how magnetic it is. You drop a 3-second pause after a personal line, maintain soft eye contact, and let her come toward you. When laughter and qualification show up, you calibrate with a compliment that reflects your standard rather than her looks. You can say, "I like people who own their choices," and then follow with a playful challenge. "What's one choice you're proud of this month?" When touch invitations emerge, you test with a neutral touch, read compliance, and if positive, move to a relational touch, then propose a shared move. Each step is small. Each step reads and leads. Masculine presence is the ratio of calm observation to decisive action. You observe more than most men, and you act cleaner than most men. I want you to adopt a stoic filter as you do this. Stoicism is not emotional deadness, it's emotional leadership. You don't suppress attraction, you direct it. You don't chase validation, you validate your own conduct. Marcus Aurelius wrote about focusing only on what's within your control. Your control here is your breathing, your posture, your voice, your questions, your calibration, and your exits. You can exit warmly when the cluster doesn't show up. You can slow down when the pace is off. You can move when the window opens. Attachment to outcome is the enemy. Presence to signals is your power. When you detach from needing a yes, you communicate abundance without words. Women feel that difference immediately. It's the steady calm in your chest, the unhurried way you set your glass down, the silence you allow without fidgeting. That calm is more attractive than any line. You should also understand the role of tension and release. Attraction breathes in tension, comfort breathes in release. You create tension by holding eye contact a fraction longer, by speaking slowly with certainty, by teasing with warmth, by standing still instead of swaying. You create release by smiling softly, by breaking eye contact downward, by acknowledging and validating, by occasionally leaning back. The dance is tension, release, release. Too much tension and she defends. Too much release and you become forgettable. The 5 signs will tell you when to dial each up or down. When gaze and mirroring intensify, you can afford more tension. When proximity drops or compliance weakens, you add release. Let's get surgical about common misreads. First, extroversion bias. Extroverted women deliver high energy, lots of eye contact, and frequent touches. Everybody thinks they're into them. Your correction is to track reapproach and qualification. If she's attracted to you specifically, she finds reasons to return to you over others, and she seeks your evaluation on something personal. If neither happens, don't read too much into her warmth. Second, shyness bias. Reserved women show fewer overt signs. Your correction is to notice micro-clusters, the way she subtly orients her feet, the slight exposure of the neck, the small smile that lingers after you look away, the quick return to your space when there's room to move. You respond by lowering energy, increasing clarity, and offering low-pressure movement. Walk with me for 30 seconds. Third, context contamination. In professional or formal settings, many cues are constrained. Your correction is to elongate the timeline, reduce touch, and prioritize verbal qualification, and reapproach over anything suggestive. You seed a move for later, a coffee during a break, a casual meet outside the context, and you respect boundaries absolutely. Let's talk about pace. The most masculine thing you can do when attraction appears is to move at a pace that respects both your standard and her nervous system. Attraction is not a race, it's a staircase. If you skip stairs, you force her physiology into defense. When you climb one stair at a time, gaze, proximity, mirroring, qualification, touch, you keep both of you in the sweet spot where curiosity expands instead of collapses. When in doubt, slow your exhale. Your breath sets the tempo. If you can control your breath in the presence of a woman you're drawn to, you can control the interaction. Your breath quiets your mind, grounds your voice, and sharpens your perception. That's a practical, physical dominance you carry into the room without saying a word. Now I want you to build a simple field protocol you can run anywhere. Step 1. Observe from neutral. Establish baseline. Note her energy with others, her default distance, her laugh pattern. Step 2. Open clean and low pressure. A simple, context-anchored opener delivered with a warm face and a steady voice. Step 3. Within 30 seconds, test for the first 2 signs, gaze pattern and proximity. Hold eye contact during a key sentence and pause. Does she hold and return, or does she scan? As you stand, does she angle toward you, step closer, place an item nearby? Step 4. Adjust tempo and test mirroring. Slow your speech, then slightly quicken it. Notice if she tracks within 1 or 2 exchanges. Step 5. Add a playful tease and a value statement to invite qualification. Tease with kindness, then state a standard. Listen for self-reveal and questions for your view. Step 6. Create a small touch opportunity and read compliance. High five, brief guide through space, or palm to palm with a smile. If compliant, offer a simple move. Let's grab that spot by the window. Step 7. If the cluster is weak, end warmly and seed a future meet. If strong, progress decisively but never desperately. That's your loop. You can run it in 3 minutes or in 15, depending on context. Mastery is consistency plus calibration. I want to add nuance on voice and facial signals because most men leave money on the table here. When a woman is attracted, her voice often softens by a half step and becomes slightly breathier. Listen for this shift after you deliver a personal line. If her voice warms and her pace aligns with yours, that's a readiness cue to deepen. Facial muscles around the eyes relax when she genuinely smiles. The orbicularis oculi engagement produces a subtle crow's feet effect that courtesy smiles don't. You're not scanning her like a lab tech. You're receiving her like a man who notices details because he respects reality. Respect breeds precision. Precision breeds confidence. Confidence creates safety. Safety allows attraction to grow. You also need to guard against cognitive biases that sabotage your read. Confirmation bias will make you hunt for what you want to see. Counter it by forcing yourself to note 2 signals that aren't there. If you can't name what's missing, you're not reading, you're fantasizing. Negativity bias will make you dismiss real signs because you fear rejection. Counter it by naming 1 green light out loud in your head and acting on it with a micro-lead. Projection bias will make you assume she experiences what you do. Counter it by testing behavior rather than assuming. Ask her to move, to share, to decide. Behavior reveals truth. Let's tie this to masculine boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are decisions. You decide that you don't pursue when the cluster isn't there. You decide that you don't stay in small talk purgatory when synchronization shows up. You move. You decide that you don't escalate when compliance drops. You slow. You decide that you don't compromise your standards for attention. Attraction has to flow both ways. Mature masculine energy doesn't beg for it. It recognizes it, nurtures it, and if absent, moves on. This attitude doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. And clarity is attractive. Consider the role of status signals without playing status games. Women respond to competence, to presence, to social proof that you belong. You don't manufacture fake proof. You operate in environments where you're in your element. You speak about what you know, and you treat people well. When you do, attraction signs intensify faster because safety and admiration can coexist. The 5 signs become louder in the presence of competence. If your life is empty and you rely on her interest to feel valuable, your reads will be skewed. Fill your life with pursuits that harden your focus and widen your joy. Training, mission, brotherhood, craft. Then when you meet from fullness. Fullness makes you patient. Patience makes you precise. Here's how you train this skill deliberately. For the next week, every time you enter a social environment, choose 1 sign to track obsessively. One day, only gaze patterns. Next day, only proximity. Next day, only mirroring. Then laughter and qualification. Then touch invitations and compliance. You're building perceptual muscles. At the end of each session, write down 2 accurate reads and 1 misread. Ask yourself why you misread. Was it projection, environment, or lack of baseline? This practice turns vague intuition into reliable calibration. Improvement loves measurement, so measure. You also train your delivery. Record your own voice speaking casually and then speaking with intention. Notice your pace, your pauses, your tendency to rush at the end of sentences. Attractive men don't rush to finish. They land lines like they mean them. Stand in front of a mirror and rehearse holding eye contact through a 3-second silence while keeping your face relaxed. It will feel long. It isn't. That tolerance for silence is a competitive advantage. Calibrate your touch by practicing neutral directional touch with trusted friends in crowded spaces. Light, clear, brief. You're educating your nervous system to move without flinch. Let's address texting briefly because men destroy attraction by moving the entire interaction onto a screen. Text is for logistics and light momentum, not for building the whole connection. If the 5 signs were present in person, your text should reflect that certainty. You don't beg for attention with question marks chains. You make a simple proposal and you set a time. If you didn't get the cluster and you only have her number, you keep text minimal, seed a future window, and then you move on with your life. Abundance isn't a line, it's how you allocate attention. Finally, internalize this. Your worth is not granted by her signals. Her attraction does not create your value. It reveals alignment. If she's attracted, beautiful. If she's not, beautiful. You remain the same man before and after. That steadiness makes every signal easier to read because you're not jittering for approval. You become the rare man who can genuinely say, if it's a yes, I'll lead with care. If it's a no, I'll leave with kindness. Women feel that, and because of that, you'll see the 5 signs more often, more clearly, and sooner. So here's your implementation in the next week. Day 1. Walk into any social environment and test for sign 1 and sign 2 only. Hold a beat of eye contact after a key line, then pause. Notice returns to your gaze and any reapproach. If you get both, propose a micro move. Day 2. Test mirroring. Play with tempo. If she tracks you, reward with a deeper topic. Day 3. Invite qualification by stating a simple standard and listening for self-reveal. Day 4. Test neutral touch with clarity and respect. Read compliance. Day 5. Integrate. Look for the cluster. Gaze returns, proximity investments, mirroring with latency, warm laughter plus qualification, touch invitations with compliance. If you see 3 or more, move. If not, enjoy the moment and keep moving through your life. Each day, your perception sharpens, your voice steadies, your presence deepens. When a woman is attracted to you, she doesn't always announce it. She shows it in 5 small but powerful ways. She feeds you a gaze rhythm that returns to you. She manages proximity to stay in your orbit. She syncs her tempo to yours. She laughs with warmth and seeks your view, and she invites and accepts calibrated touch. Read the cluster, respect the pace, and lead with calm intent. Do this consistently, and you won't need to ask, "Is she into me?" You'll know, and you'll act like a man who does.